Welcome to the Woodturning Workshop. Today we're going to do something fun and practical. We're going to do some furniture repair. When I first started turning, I didn't realize how many everyday items are made on the lathe. Look right here, we have a great example of a handmade rolling pin. And if you look at this shelving, spindles are holding it up. And back here we have two really good examples of turning in chairs. Look at the legs here. It's a beautiful job. And when you look at this chair, look at the spindles. You can definitely tell this is handmade because even though they're similar, they're different. You can tell there's a slight difference in each one. Somebody worked very hard to make them look alike, but yet they're different. And that's what makes them special. Now, I can't make a chair like this, but I can turn a spindle. And that'll make you sometimes a repairman. So let's go back to the shop and see what trouble I got myself into. I tell ya, I'm innocent. Well, probably not. But that has nothing to do with our project today either. Today we're going to be replacing the spindles that are broken off this chair a friend of mine bought. It looks simple, but it is actually quite difficult. Let's go to the lathe and talk about it. Little different setup today, as you can tell. We have a spindle steady. I've put together a little rig here also to hold one of the spindles for a pattern or template. We've all done this in the past where we've turned spindles on the lathe. You put a piece of wood on here about this size and it's fine. It's solid. There's no problem with it. By the time you turn it down to something this thin, it starts to flex and vibrate. And I guarantee you do one like this, you're probably going to break it 9 times out of 10. That's why we're using a spindle steady today. Even though I'm working with a dowel, no matter how careful I am, putting it on the lathe is going to be a little bit out of round. So the first thing I need to do is to quickly true it up with a roughing gouge. Let me explain the spindle steady just briefly. These wheels make contact with the wood. They provide a force back this way against the tool pushing this way. That reduces vibration and flexing. That again was why it was so important to round this out perfectly, because if it wasn't, the wheels would bounce on that. That would cause more problems. Tools we're going to use today: small spindle gouge, parting tool, and calipers. Let's get started. As you can see, I've mounted my spindle here as a guide. What I want to do now is transfer these major points of the spindle onto the wood. Turn the lathe on for that. And I'm just going to eye this up. There's the top of that bead. There's the bottom of that bead. There's the shoulder. The next mark I want to make will be the high point of that long elongated bead there. Then I want to mark the transition between the elongated bead and the two small beads, and the transition between the two small beads and the next large bead. I also want to mark the high point of that bead. That's an important mark. Then I'll mark that. There's my next transition. There's my last high spot. Now we got to take some measurements. The first part of the spindle I need to make is actually missing. It's the tenon that goes into the chair. So I measured the diameter of the hole in the chair. Now I know the size that I need to make the tenon. Okay, I've got my calipers, I got my measurement. I'm going to take my parting tool. It's a one-handed cut. Just start parting in. I'm going to part a little more off to the side so I have some clearance. I'm lightly riding the calipers on the wood. There we go. There's our tenon, perfect size. Now I'll just get rid of the rest of the wood here real quick. And I'm going to move up to that mark. Got my measurement now for the bead. That's the next thing I want to do. So I'm going to make a parting cut. There we go. We got the diameter of the bead. Going to use my spindle gouge and start making the bead. I start with the gouge almost flat. Starts to cut. I roll it over. Come back. Roll it over again. I'm raising the handle in the back as I make the rollover too. You want to sneak up on a bead. You don't want to try to take all the wood off in one pass. I want to make sure I've got this measurement next for the little shoulder. I'm going to transfer that over now. Okay. Now I want to go ahead and start rolling my bead back this way. And this bead is not a perfect circle. It's kind of elongated, almost like a teardrop. So that's why I'm referencing up here and watching the shape there while I'm making this shape. And I want to be very careful where I make the mark, or make the final cut, meet that shoulder, because I don't want to gouge it out any. I want it to be a nice crisp line. Perfect. I want to point out one thing. I'm working my way back slowly. You could think it would be nice to go ahead and part down the high point here, the low point, work your way all the way back so you already have those marks cut. But if you did that, you would significantly weaken the spindle. You have to take this in small parts. It's like eating an elephant, one bite at a time. So I'm going to work from here to here. Once that's done, I'll work from here to here. It'll stay stronger, it'll be less vibration. I've got my depths marked. These are high spot here, low spot here. Since I know that's a high spot, I actually want to part away that wood to that level. I want to part away this wood and this wood to this level. And I'm just going to use my parting tool and do that really fast. Now I don't have to move all that wood with my spindle gouge. We've worked our way all the way up to this shoulder right here. I need to make a cove, and if you look on the underside here, you see this is an elongated bead. So this is actually curving all the way back into the spindle to this point, then it curves out and away. Two different movements, two different cuts, but with a spindle gouge you can do both of them. Again, I'm going to work my way from the furthest end and work my way back. I'm going to sneak up on the cut as I go. I'm just removing extra wood right now. To make a cove, you start with the tool on its side, and then you roll it flat. Now I don't want to keep going this way because I'll be cutting uphill and it'll be a bad cut. So I want to come this way, start in this way, roll that way. I want to come back, sneak up on it that way like so. Now in a second I'll get a measurement for what the diameter is on this. I just want to work my way down to where I'm close right now. And I want to leave this shoulder a little bit wide for right now because I can always take more wood away. I can't put any back. I want to take my calipers now and check my diameter. And I'm actually laying them down on top this time because I want to look straight down to see how much I have left to cut. And it looks like about a 1/16 of an inch is all I have to remove. So that should be pretty easy with the spindle gouge. Just blend those two cuts together again. See how close I am now. Oh, perfect. That'll sand down to the right diameter. Now next I want to finish this bead up into here and actually get this bead down into here. Once those are formed, I'll have clearance to work on the two beads that go in the center. So I'll start again with my spindle gouge. And just do a roll. If you start to hear a little chatter on your cut, I'm going to clean this up here. It's because you're taking too much wood off or you're applying too much pressure. So just lighten up, back up, and ease on the cut a little bit. Now that's the last time I want to come back here. I want to work my way this way as much as possible. So I'm going to start working on this bead. Hear that vibration? Lighten up, a little bit easier, lighter cut. Roll the tool, sneak up on it. Now I want to make the two beads that go in between these two larger beads, and I'm going to use a parting tool for that. It's really easy to do. I'm going to go to the right here. So I'm going to let the tip on the right side touch, and I'm just going to roll over. Going to come back, start a little bit further, roll over again, a little more. I'll come to this bead and meet it up, blend the two beads together. It's a very delicate light touch. You're seeing a huge shot of this right now. I wish I could see that myself. To get some better glasses for that. Now I'm going to come over here. I want to start I want my beads to meet in the middle, so I'm just going to work my way over. Very delicate touch here. I'm going to come back here. I don't want to catch this tip on this bead. I got to be careful. These beads on the spindles, I noticed, weren't that well formed, which leads me to believe that they were machine made. You lose a lot of detail sometimes in a mass duplication environment. That's why doing these things by hand is more fun. Whoops, got a little catch there. I hit the flat part of the blade, so we'll just come back and smooth that out. There we go. And I clean that up and roll it over here. That looks pretty good. I want to finish the bead here, which is this part. And once I've got this rounded nicely, I'm not going to work on this. I'm going to actually part these down. Now I'm going to go ahead and use the parting tool for the rest of this bead. And you can actually see how this cut's made. I'm resting this leading edge on the tool rest, and I'm using it as a pivot point. So I'm just going to pivot and roll. Same thing as using the spindle gouge, you just want to take a little bit at a time. It's flat on its side there. There, that didn't take much. I'm getting more vibration as I'm going, so I don't want to take a full width cut of the parting tool. I'm just taking about half or a third of the tool and using it to cut with it. We're starting to pick up some vibration now as the spindle gets thinner. If we didn't have this steady rest up here, it would really be bad. We possibly could break the spindle right now if we weren't careful. Couple tips. If you start hearing vibration, again, lighten your cut, back off. If you have done that and you still get vibration, sharpen your tool. That's a good sign that the tool is dull. One other tip, if you do get vibration, you can't get rid of it, slow the lathe down. What happens is the tool starts bouncing on the ridges you're making as the vibration occurs. If you slow the lathe down, it'll start cutting again instead of bouncing off the wood. Finish shaping this bead. One nice thing about this part of the spindle is I'm actually going to start repeating shapes that I've already done. Right here, I'm going to be putting beads that I made right here. Also, this shoulder is going to be right here. This elongated shape I made here is what I'm repeating right here. So at least I know what I've done already, so it shouldn't be a problem. I've turned the spindle as far as I can now before I have to move the spindle steady. I don't want to move the spindle steady yet, though, until I do some sanding. That will give me support as I'm pushing against the wood. I'm not going to be pushing very hard, but I will be pushing on it. I'm going to start it up. If you notice, I've cut my sandpaper into small strips. I've got really fine detail in here. If I folded my paper like I do on a lot of projects, I've doubled the width of the paper, so when I come in here to sand here, I won't leave a clean, sharp edge. Not as clean as it could be. So I'm going to actually do it this way with a cut edge, and I can get in right on those little details with that edge, and it'll stay nice and sharp. By the way, I'm using 220. My tool marks are very small. They were good clean cuts. And I'm actually just going to leave this at 220 because it looks like the chair was left at 220, so I want to match the look of the finish on the wood for it. As you can see, we got things moved around. I've got my spindle steady, moved to the other side. My tool rest is over here. Made good contact with the wood. Everything's spinning fine. I've got the remainder of my spindle grasped here so I can use it as a template. Where we're going to be now is we're about right here. I'm going to finish this curve down, and I've made a mark right about here because I know that's where I'm going to reach the narrowest diameter of the spindle. So we're going to work our way back to that point. I'm marking where my bead is. This is going to be the narrowest part. I want to work my way to that. Really light cuts again, remember. Looking good. I just want to check my profile here and see where I'm supposed to accelerate the curve down. I've got my caliper set at the diameter I need for the spindle. It's going to be the narrowest part of the spindle. I have to be really careful here because it's going to be so thin that I could snap and break very easily. I'm going to use my spindle gouge to do that. The parting tool would just take too big of a cut. There we are. We are within a hair's breadth of it. There we are. That's it. Okay, now I just want to slowly taper this in. Very, very light cuts. Barely taking any wood off with each pass. Perfect. Now, as you can see, I've got to move back to here with that diameter. I don't want to take it all in one piece. I'm going to slowly go in this way. Hear that vibration? Going to take it down a bit at a time. Just little short repetitive strokes. Okay, that's far enough back. About a ½ inch. Come here, narrow it some more. I'm not in a hurry. I don't want to take it down to the finished diameter this way. I just want to get close. Okay, now, I've gone to a lot of trouble to make sure that my tool rest is perfectly parallel with the workpiece. I'm going to take my finger. You can see it going right there under the lip on the tool rest. I'm going to use that as a depth gauge. So I'm going to bring this in, barely get a cut going, slide across, slide back, feed it in a hair more, slide back. Slide back and forth. Very little wood taken off each pass, but it makes a beautiful straight line. And you can see I'm starting to blend in to where that diameter is on the spindle. There we go. Perfect. Now I'm going to work my way back a little bit at a time till I get to where the bead is. There we go. That's the diameter of the bead. Now I'm going to work my way down and create the bead. You almost have to do a pull cut here. As I finish rounding the bead this way, I can't keep plunging in or I'll get vibration. So I go in just a bit and I pull the tool back. And it's kind of a scrape. You don't want to be too aggressive with it or we'll ride up and snap also. Now I can come back this way, remove a little more wood this way, and sneak back up on the bead. Going to mark the outside of my bead on this side. So I kind of know where I'm going. Got to work my way down to it. I was holding my breath on that bead. That is a really critical cut. You could really just snap things just like that if you catch your tool. Now all I have to do is just nibble away, small cuts, a little bit at a time, about a ½ inch at a time, and work my way all the way back and make a nice straight spindle. 2 down, 2 more to go. And remember, now that you're a wood turner, your friends are going to ask for favors too. So obviously, I'm going to keep turning. Until the next time on the Woodturning Workshop, you keep turning.